concerned and afraid for Rushdie's life. But after a few sort of minutes, I actually thought that the most surprising thing about the attack was that it had taken 32 or 33 years for a fundamentalist to get to Rushdie, because the list of people who have been attacked or killed for their involvement with the satanic verses is very long and bloody indeed, going back all the way to 1988 and now culminating in this attack on Rushdie. And as you mentioned, there's also been the Charlie Hebdo affair, and the Charlie Hebdo affair really was due to events in Copenhagen in 2005, where a Danish newspaper published cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad that unleashed a firestorm of protests and threats. And Charlie Hebdo, as one of few magazines, showed solidarity with the Danish newspaper and republished these cartoons, and that's really what made them a target for fundamentalists. So these events are linked, and the threat has been real for a very long time. We also saw in 2020 a French school teacher who taught his class about free expression, where he showed about, and he was beheaded brutally on the street by fundamentalists. So in that sense, it's unfortunately not surprising that Rushdie was attacked, although of course we would have hoped that security could have protected him.
Well, when we come back, we're going to talk a great deal more about the long path of the fight to protect free expression around the world. And we'll be doing that with Jacob Mushangama, who's joining us today, by the way, from Reykjavik in Iceland. And by the way, I mentioned a few minutes ago that I had a chance to speak with Salman Rushdie right here in these very studios in 2013. He had been on a tail end of a book tour for his memoir, where he was recounting his years in hiding. So we've pulled that conversation, that 2013 conversation, out of our archives and put it up in our podcast feed, the On Point podcast feed. You should definitely listen to it, because there's a great deal of detail that Rushdie goes into about what it was like to be in hiding for more than a decade. So subscribe to the On Point podcast feed wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back in a moment. This is On Point.
When is the drag show?
Look on the olive tree and see.
How in the world can you keep up with the world when so much seems to be happening every hour, every day? Up First, the podcast from NPR News, gives you a solution in a little over 10 minutes. We give you the biggest news stories of the day with the context you need to get through that day. So start your weekdays with us at 6 o'clock Eastern. And of course, it's available when you want it. And now available Saturday mornings at 8. Up First, the morning news podcast from NPR News. SXMM has gone totally 80s. Countdowns with the original MTV DJs. Channels bursting with the decade's biggest hits. Tubular performances from Duran Duran, Bryan Adams, and more. And righteous hosts like Billy Idol, Linda Carlin, Rick Springfield, and Simon LeBon.
That's illegal.
What's illegal?
That guy just went and come from that way to park in this side of the road.
Support for On Point comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston. From Indeed, a hiring platform designed to streamline the hiring process. Indeed works to help businesses attract, interview, and hire candidates in one place. More at Indeed.com/NPR. And Prompt.com, with a mission to help students stand out in their college applications through one-on-one application and essay coaching.
Leave the immediacy of the story of Salman Rushdie in order to explore this longer history that you've written about. I'm wondering if you could actually just remind listeners who don't recall, what was it about